I am so tired of the victim complex that we see out of MAGA every single day. These are people who blame liberal rhetoric for a climate in which we have seen an increase in political violence while they spew bile at their rallies. And Donald Trump, post pictures of him invading Chicago with napalm, and Jesse Waters demands we go to war. And there's no better example of this hypocrisy than Stephen Miller, a man who rails against the deep state, but is essentially operating as a shadow president. But Gavin Newsom just dropped the hammer on his shadow presidency, as well as Trump's, with a term-ending blow for at least Stephen Miller that we are going to get into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into what Governor Newsom did that has Miller completely collapsing and losing his mind, I want to start with someone who called out the MAGA hypocrisy when it comes to rhetoric, and that was our own Adam Bockler right here.
Yeah, I'm pretty tired of conservatives gaslighting about the current political environment and Donald Trump's rhetoric when all of this escalation can be traced back to his entrance into American politics. His claim to fame was saying that Obama wasn't born in America. He was the first presidential candidate to have his crowd chant, "Lock her up," about a political opponent. You can bring up the insurrection. Even in the past few weeks, my home city of Chicago, he posted a photo of Chicago being invaded by the Department of War. So the broader point here is Donald Trump endlessly deflects and tries to blame it on the other side when he is the one responsible for amping up the tension in America. And I've spent all of my formative years throughout high school, throughout college, looking to the president, who I'm supposed to be able to look up to, and seeing somebody who's trying to place blame on the left, who's amping up the rhetoric constantly. And yeah, it's not good.
So you think it's Donald Trump's fault that a deranged leftist climbed up to the top of a building and shot up the ICE facility, not once now, but twice in Texas?
I think it's Donald Trump's fault that America has gotten to this heated place. I think that
no responsibility for the radicalization on the left that's causing this violent outburst.
That 29-year-old is radicalized by online communities and online algorithms. I'm not going to blame that directly on Trump, but he was caught in a lot of online video game algorithms and all these communities. Donald Trump,
but it's Trump's
10
fault.
years ago, Donald Trump amped up the tension in America.
So he ran 10 years.
Adam is so right here, and he's been doing just such a great job picking apart these idiotic MAGA arguments on these panels. But why is there no reflection from MAGA or the right in general about political violence that isn't just carried out against politicians or political figures? Donald Trump carries out political violence every single day, whether he is illegally bombing boats in international waters, whether he's sending more tax dollars to Israel to continue committing genocide, whether he is ripping apart families with his mass thugs. Donald Trump is committing political violence. And on that last issue, Governor Newsom is hitting back like no other. And he made the announcement that had Stephen Miller losing it, and we're going to get into it all.
And what did the administration do? What did Stephen Miller do? What did Donald Trump do? They sent masked men to intimidate folks from walking in to that event. Masked men. Poor soul that happened to be in the area, delivery guy delivering strawberries, was detained because he just happened to be in the area. Collateral damage. Disappeared. These masked men had no identification. These masked men did not provide any information, name, badge number. Hidden from accountability, any transparency, any oversight. That's Trump's America, but it is not the America we've grown up in.
I think I'm just going to get into the habit of regularly repeating this on the show, but the next Democratic president is certainly going to need to govern with a vengeance. These people have broken the law. They have broken our country. They have done so purposefully. They want people to feel a constant unrest and distrust. And the people who did this need to be shown and taught a lesson, because it's the only language that MAGA understands is strength and intimidation. And I think that we just need to make it clear that justice needs to be served. And at least Governor Newsom is trying to do that right now. But it's going to need to continue. We are going to need to take this fight as far as we possibly can and making it very, very clear that you cannot break the law like this. You cannot operate an authoritarian regime. And as Newsom would term Stephen Miller and make him freak out, you can't be a fucking fascist. And he said all that, and it made Stephen Miller lose his little weird-shaped head in his mind. Gavin Newsom and Stephen Miller trade jabs over who is inciting violence and terrorism. California Governor Gavin Newsom clapped back at White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, who accused him on Wednesday of inciting violence and terrorism. Miller, long known for his bombastic rhetoric, shared a clip of Newsom on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert this week and wrote, "This language incites violence and terrorism." During his interview with Stephen Colbert on Tuesday evening, Newsom slammed the Trump administration's illegal immigration crackdown. Masked men jumping out of unmarked cars, people disappearing, no due process, no oversight, zero accountability happening in the United States of America today, Newsom fumed, adding, "People ask, well, is authoritarianism you being hyperbolic? Bullshit, we're being hyperbolic," Newsom said. "If you're black and brown community, it's here in this country." Newsom hit back at Miller with a clip of his own, which he captioned, "This language incites violence and terrorism." In the clip, Miller says the Democrat Party does not fight for, care about, or represent American citizens. It is an entity devoted exclusively to the defense of hardened criminals, gangbangers, and illegal aliens. Governor Newsom's press office wrote on Twitter that Stephen Miller is a fascist. Miller responded, "Why do you think he posted this?" Newsom responded, "Because you're a fascist." Again, this comes back to the victim complex that exists all throughout MAGA, but certainly around language right now, where you'll see a tweet from the Newsom press office saying that, like, Kristi Noem's going to have a bad day. And then, hours later, Newsom will come out with new legislation to make sure that we're defending immigrants. And the Secret Service gets called on him. And Kristi Noem goes, "I didn't know. I was so afraid for my family." As she's actively ripping fucking families apart around the country. So maybe you take off the $50,000 Rolex, the eyelash extensions. Maybe you take some of the filler out of your face because it's messing with your brain, and you take some time to consider the feelings of other people, you piece of shit. Seriously, I'm so tired of these people. And Stephen Miller saying, "Oh, why is he using this language again? Oh, it could put us in trouble." Well, then why are you using this language against James Comey?
What James Comey did is truly one of the most severe assaults on our freedoms and liberties that has occurred in the whole history of this nation, Sean.
There is an active investigation into James Comey right now. There's going to be a trial in which Donald Trump will lose, potentially. And for a high-ranking government official, one of the most powerful people in the country, to say, "Oh, James Comey is a hardened criminal. He's a terrible person. We need to lock him up." What language is that, Stephen? If you're so worried about being called a fascist, which you are, maybe you consider what you call other people who your words have a bigger impact on, but they're just a bunch of crybabies. Like, Stephen Miller's a little crybaby bitch. Like, that's just what it is. He is so annoying and aggravating. That grating, screaming, awful voice of his weird-shaped head and his suits that don't fit. I know I'm getting personal here, and we could certainly talk about, like, the character that he doesn't have, but Jesus, aren't we just tired of seeing these people? It just exhausts me every single day that they are somehow in charge of us. Stephen Miller in charge of us? And what's the point even? Cruelty. That is the point. They are litigious because they want to be cruel, because they want to take up your time, because they have nothing else to offer except their petty grievance. That's it. And that is the difference between when we call for a just response, a just vengeance, in a Democratic presidency. It is not little tiny little litigious lawsuits. Oh, I'm going to sue ABC. Oh, maybe, I'm going to go to James Comey's house and knock on the door. No, we're putting Stephen Miller in jail. Putting Kristi Noem in jail. Pete Hegseth has broken the law. So is J.D. Vance. So is Donald Trump. So is everyone in this administration. Kash Patel, you think you're keeping your job? You're fired. Alito, Thomas, you think you're staying on the court? Impeached. And then we're going to expand it. Yeah, we're going to pack it And when someone asks that question, are you packing the court? Oh, you could not possibly think of packing the court. I know that these justices, the conservative ones, have accepted bribes for decades now, but packing the court? Oh no, how could we pack the court? Fuck yeah, we're going to pack the court. It's time to respond and hit the fuck back. Seriously, step up. It is embarrassing if we cannot respond with actual conviction when all of they do is just try to make people's lives more difficult for show. And that's what it's about. It's the cruelty. Just listen to Adam Kinzinger, who knows all about it.
Congressman, how much of this prosecution of James Comey do you think is about actually seeking a conviction? How much is simply to inconvenience him, sending a message, force him to spend time and money on attorneys?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'd love to get a conviction, but this is all about the inconvenience. This is all about intimidation. You know, the message, you think about how Donald Trump has operated his whole life. I mean, I like to remind people the Republican Party used to be the party that campaigned against frivolous lawsuits. And now the president, you know, basically is a practitioner of frivolous lawsuits and lawfare. And that's exactly what it is. So he knows that James Comey is going to have to spend money. He's going to be inconvenienced. It's damage to the reputation potentially, and that's all that matters. And it's a message he is sending to anybody else that this could happen to you too. So what ends up happening? People go quiet. You see, you know, corporations that go quiet or salute and get along, and it's. I guess look, it's successful, but in the long run, I think it's going to be very much a stain on our history when we look back at how this was done.
You served on the January 6th committee, obviously. How do you prepare for the possibility the president could target you, others for prosecution?
Yeah, I have absolutely no worry about it because first off, what I did was my constitutional duty, and I would argue that I embarrassed him because we showed that he was complicit or launching the overthrow of the government, the attempted overthrow. But any retribution would just be based on he was embarrassed, he feels bad, and he wants to. But there's literally nothing he can do. And if he makes the decision to do that, and they make up some charges, it'll just make me even more effective at pushing back against him. So
Seriously, they're just trying to like mess with people's lives for fun. They know there's nothing they can get out of it. If they really thought that they could convict people and they could send them to prison, where are all the convictions for 2020? I thought that was the biggest fraud of the century in the history of the country. I thought we stole an election. You can't prosecute Joe for that. You can't prosecute Kamala for that. You can't prosecute Nancy Pelosi. I thought that was the biggest crime, Donald. So why aren't you going after those people? They know they got nothing. They're just trying to upset them and make their lives worse. We're going to call it out. And you know what? We're going to fight back. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And if you want to support the show another way, you can subscribe to my Substack right here or linked below. Thank you so much for all your support. It really does mean a lot. Keep on fighting. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.